life of the Holy Prophet and the existence of Islam in the world, not restricted to any class of the believer of any particular age. AP 1. Suhaf, plural of saf, i.e. page, lit. Pages, see note. 2. Refer to. 3. 19, 4. 163 to 165. 3. Submission to God and service to mankind as the standing religion refer to. 25. 30 to 33. 4. Not restricted to any class of the believers of any particular age. AP 5. See Dut. 1815 and 18. 6. See Dut. 1815 and 18. 7. See John 16:13. 8. See 2. 151, 80. 13 to 16. 9. Refer to verses 80, 13 to 14, 53, 36, 37, 87, 18, 19, 20, 133, 10. See 9, 36, 12, 40, 11. For Hanifs, see 2. 135, 12. See 25, 30 to 33. Shares. Surah al-Zilzal, the quaking. Revealed at Mecca. 8 verses in one section. Sections of Surah al-Zilzal. 1. Everyone shall see his own deeds. Al-Zilzal, everyone shall see his own deeds. Whatever man earned of good and evil, will be shown to him on the day of judgment and shall be duly recompensed for it, be it even of an atom's weight. In the name of God the Beneficent the Merciful. When the earth shall quake with her terrible quaking. 199. 1. And the earth bringeth forth her burdens. 99. 2. And man shall say, what hath happened to her? 2. 99. 3. On that day she shall relate her news about all that happened on her. 99. 4. That thy Lord hath revealed unto her. 399. 5. On that day shall come out people from their graves in scattered groups, to be shown their own deeds. 499. 6. Then he who hath done an atomweight of good shall see it. 599. 7. And he who hath done an atomweight of evil shall see it. 699. 8. Commentary. Verse 1 and 2. These verses 1 to 4 refer to the violent effects of destruction and disaster the earth will suffer on the day of judgment. See chapter 88. The whole earth will be quaked and getting reduced to nothing, bursting and throwing out all its contents, even the heaviest of them. Verse 3. Since the disaster will overtake the world all of a sudden, the sudden upheaval and the uprooting of the mountains and the strongest structures on earth and the convulsion of the earth as a whole will only confound man, who will be plunged into a terrific surprise. Verse 4. The earth will declare aloud what all had happened on it. Tamim ibn Hatim says, once we went to Basra, and while we were about to camp, a quake of earth was felt. We were all panicky, but Ali got down from his camel and placing his hand on the ground, addressing the earth, said, what hast happened to thee? The quaking stopped. Lady Fatima reports that once in Medina an earthquake was felt and the people got panicky and rushed to Abu Bakr and Omar, who took the whole multitude to the door of Ali, and Ali came out with perfect peace of mind and took the people outside Medina, and sitting on a mound, addressed the huge crowd and asked them, saying, ye are panicky at this quaking of the earth, what will you do when it will quake before the day of judgment? Saying this, Ali placed his hand on the ground and addressing the earth, said, what hast happened to thee? The quaking stopped and the shaking of the houses of Medina suddenly ceased. Then Ali turned to the multitude and asked, do ye wonder at this? I am the one to whom the earth will speak on the day of judgment, and recited this surah. Ms. The Holy Prophet is reported to have said that, save yourselves from calamities by always being clean with ablutions. Save yourselves by always being regular in your prayers. Beware of your good and evil deeds on earth, for it will disclose everything on the day of judgment. Verse 5. The word of command from the Almighty Lord would have brought the dissolutive and disastrous effect. And the deeds done openly or secretly will be laid bare in the full light of the day. Wahi, or the revelation or instruction or command, need not always be through an angel. 7. This verse indicates the extent of the divine revelation, and that even the earth shall have some sort of receiving the revelation. AP. Verse 6. Since the day of the final judgment will be the day of sorting out the good and the evil stuff in humanity. The dead will be divided into groups of good and bad according to the various levels of their merits and demerits, and rising from their graves, rush to see to know what is there for them by way of their own earning in this world, in the records of their own deeds. 8. This is the first stage of the total resurrection. AP. Verse 7. Note how man is warned of the strictness with which he will be dealt with in the accounting for his deeds. Even the smallest deed, good or evil, will not escape the accounting and will be duly recompensed, and no one will be able to bear the burden of the other 9. In this state every individual will realize his own deeds, good or bad, and the last stage of the resurrection is the judging of the actions, as a whole, i.e. the last stage of Shafa'at al-Kubra. These verses have been taken as to signify that our action here assumes concrete forms on the resurrection day, causing pleasure or pain. AP. 1. C. 70. 7-9. And shall be made manifest whatever is in the breasts' hearts. 110. Verily, their Lord, that day concerning them, will be fully aware. 111. Commentary. Verse 1. Verses 1-5 are the mystic symbols of some event of special importance. Commentators have given some imaginary interpretation to the symbolic use of the words. The truth is that the surah as a whole was revealed on a particular occasion of special importance. The 6th Holy Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq says that the tribes of Bani Salim collected a huge force to make a sudden and a very heavy attack on Medina, to kill the Muslims and to arrest the Holy Prophet and then to torture him. On receiving the news of this gathering of the hostile forces, the Holy Prophet sent an army under one of his companions who ran away from the field and returned utterly defeated, suffering a heavy loss, and owing to his running away from the field, many of the Muslims were killed. The Holy Prophet gave the banner of Islam to another companion and sent him, and he also ran away from the field, with a disastrous defeat and the heavy loss suffered by the Muslim army. Umar al-As offered himself to go to fight the enemy, boasting that he would see the enemy as duly punished, and he was sent, and he also returned with the same result as on the previous 2 occasions. At last the Holy Prophet called Ali and handed over the banner of Islam to him, and placing the defeated companions under him, dispatched him to meet the enemy, himself accompanying Ali up to the mosque of Azab outside Medina. The army marched at night and kept itself concealed at day, and thus he reached the place and made a sudden attack on the enemy's forces at the early hours of the dawn and won an easy victory. Most of the enemy's men were killed, and those remaining, Ali put them in chains and brought them to the Holy Prophet in Medina. When the news of the victorious Ali approaching Medina reached the Holy Prophet, he went out of the city to receive Ali and the victorious soldiers of Islam. Kissing Ali on his forehead, the Holy Prophet said, "O Ali, if there had not been the risk of the people misled to raise thee to the position, as the Christians have done in the case of Jesus, I would have disclosed certain things about thee, after which, people would have sought the dust under thy feet to get the cure for their ailments." The Holy Prophet and the Muslim army had not even entered Medina that the messenger angel Gabriel conveyed this surah to the Holy Prophet. Ms. The first 5 verses of this surah describe the event, praising the activity of the move of the army to defend the truth and its believers under its ever-victorious commander, who saved the faith and the faithful by defeating the enemy and not running away, leaving the Muslim soldiers to their fate in the hands of the triumphant foe to suffer death and destruction. As regards the companions, who ran away from the field and returned defeated on the first 2 occasions, refer to history. References to the glorious march of the chargers of the brave defenders of the faith, running fast, panting. Besides the reference to the particular expedition known as Zatus Salasal, the first 5 verses may refer to the camel, or horse cavalries which were used by the Muslims against the disbelievers, or for pilgrimage. AP. Verse 2. The march being in the night, creating bright sparks of fire by the striking of the hoofs of the chargers on the rocky soil on which they marched. The references to the expedition of the believers led by Ali, surrounding the enemy by surprise in the early hours of dawn, for this justification of the action explains the ungrateful attitude of the enemy who treacherously violated the treaty of peace with the Holy Prophet and killed in cold blood several Muslims. Ghazwa al-Zatus Salasal. AP. Verse 3. The chargers of those who attacked the enemy at dawn, for Ali had made the attack on the enemy in the early hours of dawn and had taken the enemy by surprise. Verse 4. The dust raised by the rush of the chargers, on the enemy, all of a sudden. Verse 5. The actual fall of the believers on the enemy's forces, with the consolidated heaviest pressure on them. Verse 6. The holy prophet said the Kanud is the one who eats alone and obstructs others receiving anything from anybody, i.e. grossly selfish, he who receives gifts and wages, war against the benefactor himself. Reference to the enemies of Islam, who though under the obligation of the grace of God, reject the belief in him and wage war on the believers. Verse 7. The selfish and the ungrateful disbeliever proves his selfishness and ingratitude by his own deeds, without the necessity of evidence from anybody else. He shall be in a life, well pleased with 101. 7. And as for him whose scales with good deeds are light 101. 8. His home shall be, Havia, a burning abyss 3101. 9. What maketh thee know what, Havia, is? 101. 10. It is a raging fire 101. 11. Commentary. Verse 1. Karya, i.e. a tremendously clamorous striking noise which will accompany the inauguration of the great calamity, the earth will suffer at the dawn of the day of judgment when the whole of the present order of the world will undergo a thorough change, giving place to a totally new atmosphere of a new state of the existence of a new world, of a new order of realities, with total wiping out of all false appearances and false values. Verse 2-3. Since anything similar to the terrible experience of the clamorous noise mentioned here has never been experienced by anyone in the world, it is an impossibility even to correctly imagine what the noise would be like. Verse 4. Out of the terror, the clamorous voice will create in the minds of the people. They will be running, bewildered on all sides in tumultuous multitude, out of the fear and the tumult, each falling over the other, like the tiny insignificant being, the moths scattered by a violent stormy wind. This is to give an imaginable view of the confusion and distress and helplessness man will be thrown into, all of a sudden. Verse 5. When even the solid and immovably and unshakably fixed huge mountains will be scattered in the atmosphere, like the insignificant flakes of the carter's wool. 4. Verse 6. On that day nothing but the deeds, good and bad, will be counted. The appraisement, valuation, measuring or the weighing, will be strictly to the real value of each deed, and deed means any deed of the physical body given to man, and as well as the activity of the mind, i.e. the various faculties he has been endowed with. Every action, physical and mental, will be weighed, viz. the motives, passions, thoughts, imagination, feelings, aspirations, love, hatred, the degree of faith in God, anil the extent of the disbelief in him, and the attitudes, etc. And whosoever's measure of his good deeds will exceed the measure of his evils, will receive the blissful life with which he will naturally be pleased. Verse 8-9. And whosoever's evils will exceed his good deeds will be thrown into the abyss, and Havia is interpreted to be the abyss or the depth, the bottom being immeasurably low in an unfathomable depth. Verse 10. As man in this life cannot rightly imagine the like of what the Karya, mentioned in the verse 1 above, will be, he cannot correctly visualize the likeness of the abyss called Havia, which will be the abode of the wicked. Verse 11. The simplest note of description of the abyss, Havia, is that it is a blazing fire, and the rest of it to be experienced and known when it is given to the wicked on the day of judgment. 1. Loosened. Refer to 70. 9. 2. Refer to 57. 25. 55. 8. 42. 17. 77. 20-21. 3. It may also mean tending towards the abyss. 4. See 77. 20-21. Shares. Surah at-Takathur, vying in exuberance. Revealed at Mecca. 8 verses in one section. Sections of Surah at-Takathur. 1. Exuberance engages men. At-Takathur, exuberance engages men. Exuberance engages man, diverting him from the real object of life. Man will know his folly when he will reach his grave. In the name of God the Beneficent, the Merciful. Engageth one you your vying in exuberance 102. 1. Until ye come to the graves 102. 2. Nay, soon shall ye know your folly 102. 3. Nay, nay, soon shall ye know your folly 102. 4. Nay, would that ye knew it with the knowledge too, of certitude nature 102. 5. That ye shall certainly see the hell 102. 6. Then, ye shall certainly see it with the vision 3 of Certitude 102. 7. Then shall ye be questioned on that day, about the bounties ye enjoined 102. 8. Commentary. Verse 1. The occasion for the revelation of this surah has been reported to be that the people of Bani Abd al-Manaf, Bani Qusay and Ibn Sam ibn Omar, got busy in a mutual contest of pritting over each other, the strength, their number and the matter went to the extent of counting even the dead among them, to the sides, and once when one of the parties fell short of one to win over the others, a grave was opened and the dead lying therein was counted. This surah was revealed. Refers to the total indulgence into the material acquisitions in this world which, not only generates the moral and the spiritual aspect of the individual but also takes away all the time more and more, it is leaving no time for seeking the higher objects of the real and the permanent value in the life hereafter, which is eternal, while every material acquisition has only an imaginary and timely value in which one leaves behind when he or she passes away from this world. Besides, everything of the material wealth is liable to pass away from the acquirer to somebody else, but every spiritual and moral or intellectual acquisition is inseparable from the individual, and goes along with the acquirer when he passes away from the world to the next. In this chapter, reference is made to the different stages of human realization of the life of the hereafter, corresponding to the degree of one's disengagement from the attractions, towards accumulation of the material stuff, of which the first stage, common to all, is the visits to graveyards, which have been commended by Islam and prevented by some fanatics. AP. Verse 2. To the extent of the people counting the dead in the graves, or that man gets involved in vying with each other, and the people are lost in it, and for the best of acquisition engage themselves in piling wealth over wealth until they meet death, being fit for nothing but to be laid in the grave. Verse 3 and 4. The repetition in the same statement is to lay stress and to give to force it, that surely without fail will men know the real value of the wealth with which they vie with each other and spend their whole life in acquiring it, for it will be of no value or avail to them when they meet death and in the life hereafter. 4. The fate of those who pile wealth in this life. 4. Verse 5. Men will know the real value of their motives and deeds is certainty of their knowledge, when they pass from this life to the hereafter and on the day of final judgment. Certainty of knowledge has been described to have stages. 1. What one only hears about, ilm al-yaqeen, i.e. the mere information about what is said, to a certainty. 2. What one sees with one's eyes, the visual knowledge of that which exists, ain al-yaqeen, is said in verse 7 below in this surah, seeing the hell with the eyes. 3. The realization or the knowledge proper is the personal experience with the thing, is, haq al-yaqeen, i.e. the realization of the truth about the thing, is said in 69:51. Verse 6. The deniers of the day of requital shall themselves see hell. Verse 7. They will see it with their own eyes, and they will know about it as certainty, and when they will be thrown in it, they will then know what it actually is, i.e. the realization of the truth about hell. Verse 8. Man will be questioned about the bounties of God which had been granted to him. Some commentators say that man will have to account for everything which he was given in this world. It is reported to have been told by the Holy Prophet that man will not be asked about 1. The garments he used to cover his shame. 2. The food he took in hunger. 3. What he spent in the way of the Lord. The 8th Holy Imam Ali ibn Musa ar-Rida told a man that, a man does not like burdening anyone with any obligation about what is gifted to him. How could God ask for everything he has himself granted out of his grace? But what God will ask man to account for, is about the belief in him and the belief in the truthfulness of the Holy Prophet and the Al-Bayt. Shafi'i reports in his Mark, Hayatul Hayawan, saying that Abu Hanifa said that once when he was in Mina for the pilgrimage, the barber who sat to give him a shave, wanted him first to turn the right side of his head, turn to the direction of the Holy Kaaba and say, Bismillah, i.e. in the name of God. Abu Hanifa said that he learnt the doctrines from the barber for the first time in his life. On being asked his identity, the barber said that he was the slave of the 6th Holy Imam Jafar ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq. Abu Hanifa wanted to know the residence of the Holy Imam but was not given admittance into his audience. When some Kufis got the admittance, he got in, joining the Kufis, and while talking to the holy Imam, said, "O son of the holy Prophet." Every holy Imam was known and addressed as the son of the holy Prophet. Why dost thou not send someone on thy behalf to Kufa, where a multitude of the people abuse the companions of the holy Prophet? The holy Imam replied, "The people would not listen to me." Abu Hanifa in a wonder asked, "What? To thee, the son of the holy Prophet, the people would not listen?" The holy Imam said, "One of them is thyself. I had not permitted thee, and yet thou hast entered the house. And I hear that thou dost decide matters based upon thine own gestures." Abu Hanifa accepted and said, "Yes, I do guess in matters of doubt and decide about them as I guess to be right." The holy Imam replied, "Woe unto thee, O Nu'man." That was the name of Abu Hanifa. The first one to guess was Iblis, the Satan, who, defying the Lord's command to pay obeisance to Adam, had said, "Thou didst create me with fire and Adam with clay," and did not carry out the Lord's command, saying. Verse 1. Asr, i.e., age, which is the continuity of time. The word, asr, meaning age or time, is used in a mystic use. Commentators say it is a reference to the age of the Holy Prophet, i.e., a period when the Lord's promised last reformer and final lawgiver was sent into the world and stayed preaching the truth and taught men the correct ways and means by which man can rise from the ignoble and the loathsome depth of the material world into the glorious heights of spiritual bliss. Some commentators take the word asr to mean the ceremonial afternoon prayer, and the sixth holy Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq says it is a reference to the age when the last one of the promised guide or Imam, in the seed of the Holy Prophet who bears the same name, Muhammad, who is the son of the 11th Holy Imam Hassan ibn Ali al-Askari, who is titled Mahdi, taking the reference to either the age of the Holy Prophet or his last deputy on earth, the last Holy Imam. It will mean one and the same significance to say that those who will be benefited by the teachings or the guidance of the great teacher will be the ones guided aright, and those who reject any one of these two, the last apostle from the Lord or the last one of the Lord's commissioned guides or imams, is lost. Asr literally means squeezing, or the squeezed object. It has been figuratively used for time, in the sense of its becoming, meaning the squeezed of the past which unfolds as future. The other two verses give the justification of this meaning. The state of ever folding and the unfolding ascribed to time in its relation to the events falling within it represents the state of the Imam as a microcosm and a medium between the infinite one and the finite ones, and as such the Imam has been termed in the language of the al-Bayt as the Madarid Dar, i.e. the axis of the age and the actuating factor behind it. AP. Verse 2. It is needless to go into the details that man amidst innumerable temptations, is always caught in the lust for the satisfaction of his carnal desires, thus under the risk of being easily beguiled by the innumerable and the most powerful and irresistible attractions. And if man is not on his guard against all the formidable forces of Satan, who is ever active to lead man astray, man suffers the loss of the pleasure of his Lord, which is the loss of his own salvation, the loss real. It is said that this is, as well, a reference to the taunt of Abu Jahl and Walid ibn Mughira, who said that the Holy Prophet and his followers are the losers, for they have abandoned the worship of their ancestral gods and have given up themselves to someone God. This verse clearly addressing the one who holds any such false idea says that he who says that the Holy Prophet and his followers are in a loss, is himself in the loss. Verse 3. Those who believe, may include every believer to the extent or the degree of the strength of his conviction or faith, and those who will be meant here with the fullest application of the term, will be only those who satisfy to the fullest extent the owning of the several great qualities of a believer mentioned by God. 3. The believers are those from whom God has purchased their wealth and their lives in exchange for his pleasure with them. 9. 111. Those who hold the Holy Prophet in preference to their own souls. 33. 6. The perfection or the purity in the faith can never be found in any other than those whom God himself has purified. 33. 33 To be the models of purity in every aspect of goodness in the life on earth. Thus, those who are referred here immediately are the holy al-Bayt. When asked the explanation of this surah, the Holy Prophet said that, those who are safe and whose Faith and deeds are totally correct and perfect are my all al-Bayt, i.e. Ali and the Imams in his seed. And those who reject me or them, or in the loss ms. As regards the preaching of the truth, who else could do it duly, save those who must themselves be fully conversant with it and even realized it by their own conviction and the strength of faith. The Holy Prophet had said that, I and Ali are of one and the same light and, Ali is always with the truth and the truth will always be with Ali. The preaching of the truth needs knowledge of it, and the Holy Prophet had said I am the city of knowledge and Ali is its gate. The preaching of the truth needs the knowledge of the final word of God, i.e. the Holy Quran and the Holy Prophet had said, I leave behind me two weighty very important things. The Book of God, i.e. the Holy Quran and my all al-Bayt, if ye be attached to these two, never, never shall ye get astray. And never, never, will these two get separated from each other until they meet me at the house, or cistern of Kauthar in heaven. Thus, the immediate application of this reference could rightly be only to Ali or the all al-Bayt collectively and those according to their attachment to these holy ones. As far as the enjoining of patience is concerned, the preachers themselves must have the quality of patience to the maximum degree possible, and who else could be compared to have exercised more patience in this world than the holy all al-Bayt who suffered untold miseries, tortures and even a wholesale massacre of all their dear ones. None of the 11 holy Imams left this world with a natural death, all of them suffered martyrdom. Enjoining of goodness and preaching abstinence from evil has been referred to as the qualities of the best of the nations, i.e. the holy all al-Bayt 4, and this has also been prescribed and made incumbent on the believers 5. The best of the people can be only those whom God himself had purified 33. The others, according to the degree of the purification they would have achieved, and very avaricious to pile up wealth, and was very much infatuated of his extraordinary economic position and his social influence. Akhnaz was busy slandering the apostle of God and spreading false notes against the truth preached by him. This surah was revealed with the immediate application of the reference to Akhnaz and his comrades, but it applies to everyone among the believers, warning them against the evil qualities mentioned in it. Wail means, woe he unto, but is said to be a place in hell with the worst degree of torments or a deep, woeful pit. Humaza, one who taunts, and Lumaza, i.e. one who backbites or defames or does slandering. The immediate reference applies to Akhnaz and also to Umayyah ibn Khalaf. Both of these mischief mongers were busy spreading slanders against the Holy Prophet and his mission as the Apostle of God. The quality of avarice, the lust for amassing wealth, was in the slanderers, Akhnaz and Umayyah ibn Khalaf. Though the immediate application of the reference may be to those particular ones, but the condemnation of the quality applies in general to everyone who might be a victim to the evils. Counting, mentioned here indicates the anxiety on the part of the owner to know that his wealth has not been diminished and also to be repeatedly assured of the extent of his acquisition, for he thinks that more the wealth he owns, the safer and happier he would be. Verse 3. The question here is a warning to the one who avariciously piles up wealth that whatever amount of it one might possess, it shall go, and shall not remain with him forever, for he has to pass away from here empty-handed as a destitute. Hence, if anyone thinks that his wealth will abide with him forever, he is fooled by his imagination, for it is a matter of certainty that it is only a passing show, with a great many commitments with it, in its disposal. Why should man toil more than what he must reasonably do, and why should he be proud of a thing which is of only a temporary value and of no permanent worth or use to him? And if he acquires it even by the right means, he is accountable to the Lord about its proper disbursement and disposal, and if he acquires it by any foul means, he is to be surely punished for it. The first holy Imam Ali ibn Abu Talib says, what ye bring forth the children is for dust, to die and get buried. What ye amass, i.e. wealth, is to he left behind. What ye construct buildings is to be demolished by time. But what ye act the deeds is to he recorded and piled up for the day of the final requital. Verse 4. The root of hutama is hatima, i.e. getting rendered or broken into pieces, i.e. it will be crushed, destroyed and thrown into hell before the eyes of those who spent their lives in amassing it and prided over it and got intoxicated of it, thinking it to be of a permanent value to them, deprived the others of 1. The fellows of the elephants. Al-Fil, the fellows of the elephants. How the hosts of the infidel enemy was crushed to death by small stones of baked clay thrown upon them by tiny creatures, the birds. In the name of God the Beneficent, the Merciful. What? Hast thou not seen how thy Lord dealt with the fellows of the elephant? 105. 1. Didst he not cause their device to err 1105? 2. And sent he down upon them birds in flocks 105. 3. Pelting them with stones of baked clay 105. 4. Thus rendered them like straw, eaten up by cattle. 105. 5. Commentary. Verse 1. The whole surah refers to the memorable, miraculous event in the history of Arabia and particularly about the providential survival of the Holy Kaaba against the unrepulsible attack of a formidable army of a very strong and fully equipped foe. Abraha, the Christian viceroy of the king of Abyssinia at Yemen, invaded Mecca with the determination to destroy the Holy Kaaba, for it stood in the way of his giving the desired prominence to his own built church at Sana'a, which he wanted to make a center of commerce and a place of pilgrimage for the people. This was in the very year of the birth of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. Abraha's army consisted also of elephants, which the common Arabs could have hardly had any opportunity to see one in their lives. Hence the army of Abraha is called in the history as Ashab al-Fil, i.e. the fellows or those who were accompanied with elephant. Approaching the outskirts of Mecca, Abraha's men captured 700 camels belonging to Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of the Holy Prophet, which were grazing in the open fields outside the city. Abraha sent an ultimatum to Abdul Muttalib, who was the supreme chief of Mecca, intimating to him his intention of destroying the Holy Kaaba. Abdul Muttalib said that he would meet Abraha in person and talk to him. When Abdul Muttalib approached the military camp, he was received respectfully, and Abraha gave him an honorable seat near him and asked the purpose of his visit. Abdul Muttalib said that he had come to complain to Abraha about Abraha's men taking away his camels, and to request him to restore his animals to him. Abraha laughed and said, "What? I have come to destroy your place of worship, the house of your God, and you, instead of pleading to save the holy house, you speak of your camels." Abdul Muttalib replied, "Look, the camels belong to me, and I, as their owner, have come for them. The Kaaba belongs to God, and it is the concern of the owner of the Kaaba to save it or to leave it to its fate in your hands." Abraha was stunned at the reply and allowed Abdul Muttalib to have his camels, and Abdul Muttalib, returning to the city, advised the citizens to take refuge in the mountains around the city to be safe from being hurt by the invaders. As Abraha entered the city, a huge flock of tiny birds, like a patch of a cloud, appeared in the sky, each bird with a small stone in its tiny beak, and dropped it on the invading soldiers. And the stone fell exactly on the men, and they were instantaneously killed and fell lifeless. Abraha was left to escape, but one bird followed him over his head until he, reaching the king at Abyssinia, reported the matter to him, and the king asked him what kind of birds were those that acted so miraculously. Abraha raised his eyes to the sky and saw the bird, and pointed out the bird to him. The bird dropped a stone, and Abraha was also killed. After the miraculous event, Abraha's army was found lying on the ground, dead as bits of some withered and munched grass, rendered useless for any purpose. The question here to the Holy Prophet signifies that the Holy Prophet could visualize the event by the will of the Lord. Verse 2. The protection, safety, and the honor the Quraysh enjoyed was due to the Holy Kaaba being in their city, and their being its guardians. Verse 3. The Quraysh, under the great obligation, in duty bound, should worship or serve the Lord of the Kaaba, who is the true God, and not their own made idols and their other fanciful deities in his place, who could neither hurt nor profit anyone. Verse 4. When the Quraysh have been granted such great blessings, they must gratefully worship the Lord of the Kaaba, who, in spite of their land being only a desert and thus unproductive, provides them with every kind of good food and the other provisions of life through merchandise and the pilgrimage which brings to their very door their needs through the great multitudes of the visitors who come there also to buy and sell. And God had protected them from the most formidable enemy Abraha, but for God's help they would have been destroyed and their city would have been lost, the Kaaba, on account of which they are honored and respected. Their city would have been laid waste by the enemy, they with their wives and children would have been taken as captives, and enslaved and sold away to the others, and thus they would have been torn away from their kith and kin, and their tribe as a whole would have been disintegrated and wiped out of existence. This was an open admonition to the Quraysh who had been in the start of the ministry of the Holy Prophet, the most inveterate enemies of the Apostle of God and the message of the unity of the Lord, which he preached. It was as well a warning inviting their attention to the mighty power of God who could also destroy them and humiliate them as he did act with their mighty foe Abraha. 3. 1. Protection. Security. 2. Refer to. 2. 126, 14. 37, 28. 57, 29. 67. 3. See Chapter 95. Shares. Surah al-Ma'un, Alms. Revealed at Mecca. 7 verses in one section. Sections of Surah al-Ma'un. 1. He who cares not for prayer and withholds alms. Al-Ma'un, he who cares not for prayer and withholds alms. Woe unto those praying ones who pray but care not for the prayer, do good to show to others, and refuse alms to the poor. In the name of God the Beneficent, the Merciful. What? Hast thou seen him who bellieth the final judgment? 1107. 1. That is he who repelleth the orphan. 107. 2. And urgeth not others to feed the poor. 107. 3. And woe unto those praying ones. 107. 4. Verse 4-5. Those of the worshippers who are careless about the prescribed daily canonical prayers. Those who sometimes pray and sometimes do not. Those who do not offer the prescribed daily prayers punctually, and allow the exact time for the prayers to pass away in idleness or in the worldly business and enjoyments. Those who pray to show their prayerfulness and piety to the public and do not do it when they are alone. The Holy Prophet said that the prayer is the central pillar of the faith. He who neglected it has destroyed the faith, and in another place, he said, if prayer is accepted, all other deeds of righteousness of the individual will also be accepted, and if the prayer is rejected, all the other deeds of goodness, be they of any degree and of any quantity, will be rejected. The first holy Imam Ali ibn Ali Talib said, hypocrites are those who carelessly allow the prayer time to pass away. In one place he says, I do not pray or serve God for fear of his chastisement, for it will be the prayer of the slave, nor do I pray or serve God to get the bliss in heaven which God promises, for it will be a trade, but I pray to him and serve him, for it is due to him and he alone deserves to be prayed to, and to be served. This passage shows that even among the early Muslims of the Meccan period there were some who were negligent of their prayers and hypocrites in their religious practices and niggardly in charity. AP. Negligent of their prayers. This applies to the negligence in the observation of the time and attention during prayer. To attribute such a condition to the Holy Prophet amounts to blasphemy. AP. Verse 6. Those who offer prayers or do good deeds only to be seen and known as good men among the people, i.e. the hypocrites. This is a warning to all believers to see that whatever good they do, is exclusively to please the Lord and not to earn any name or fame. Verse 7. Mon, the poor rate alms, but it actually means things of insignificant price like water, fire, and salt, which are the necessities of life. According to Ibn Abbas, Sayyid ibn Jubair and Ibn Masud, they are the things of domestic use, including even the vessel of daily use. The Holy Prophet said, he who gave salt to anyone who needed it, it will he equal to liberating 60 miserable slaves, and he who gave whaler to one who needed it, will he equal to giving life to a dead man. 1. This condemns the belying attitude. 2. See 1. 3. Shares. Surah al-Kawthar, the abundance of good. Revealed at Mecca. 3 verses in one section. Sections of Surah al-Kawthar. 1. The abundance given to the Prophet. Al-Kawthar, the abundance given to the Prophet. The abundance in good and in offspring granted to the Prophet, prophecy that his enemy shall be deprived of the continuity in issues. In the name of God the Beneficent, the Merciful. Verily we have given thee, O our Apostle Muhammad, the Kawthar, abundance. 108. 1. So pray thou unto thy Lord, and offer sacrifice. 108. 2. Verily, thy enemy shall be the one cut off in his progeny. 1108. 3. Commentary. Verse 1. The holy prophet's son Tahir, born of the lady Khadijah, died and there was no male issue of the holy prophet. People viz. Omar ibn Az and Hakam ibn Az, taunted the holy prophet calling him, Abtar, i.e. the animal whose tail is cut off, meaning, the one whose succession in his seed has ceased, i.e. the one who has none to inherit. To console the holy prophet, this surah was revealed with the glad tidings of the greatest amount or the highest degree of the grace of God, bestowed on him. Kawthar is said to be a stream in heaven which is meant exclusively for the holy prophet. When this surah was revealed, the holy prophet was asked as to what Kawthar actually meant. He said that it is a stream of super excellence, exclusively meant for him and the righteous ones who will be served with the drink of it. Saying this, the holy prophet struck his hand on the hand of Ali who stood beside him and said, Thou shalt be the Saki, i.e. distributor or the supplier of the drinks from Kawthar, and from that day Ali is popularly called Saki al-Kawthar, i.e. the distributor of Kawthar. Single quote. The holy prophet said that, on the day of judgment I will see some of my companions being driven like cattle away from Kawthar. I will ask, why are they driven away? They are my companions. The reply to me will be, Thou knowest not that after thy departure from the world, those are they that turned away from the truth and created their own innovations in the faith. This is said in S.B. MIH, and the other Sunni authorities on the tradition of the Holy Prophet. This is a clear and an unquestionable reference to those who after the departure of the Holy Prophet usurped the position which they were not entitled to and deprived Ali and the al-Bayt of their legitimate rights and started their own schools of thought with their own innovations in the faith, called after their names, and many other diversions for the universal course of the faith preached and practiced by the Holy Prophet. It is said, Kawthar means the abundance of the descendants. It is a fact that none can correctly count the number of children of Ali and Fatima who were recognized as the children of the Holy Prophet, called Sayyids, whereas those who taunted the Holy Prophet as Abtar, or the one without a succession, had gone into oblivion. Kawthar also means the abundance of good given to the Holy Prophet in this world as well as in the next. The regeneration of the human race effected by the Holy Prophet through the faith, Islam, is unparalleled in the history of the world, and the abundance of the goodness of the Holy Prophet in the other world and on the day of judgment will be so much that everyone faithfully attached to him and his holy al-Bayt as he commanded, will also be able to get himself profited by it as he would get the drink from the Kawthar. Single quote. These people of the character referred to in the preceding chapter would naturally think of the holy prophets being short of wealth and issues and even the number of the clan Hashemite to which he belonged and to which Abu Talib refers. 1. Yuluzo Bahi al-Halak min al-Hashimi, the one to whom the Hashemite knights take shelter. 2. Fahaham indahu fi nimatan wa fawadili, thus they are in abundant bounties and blessing, being with him. This chapter assures the Holy Prophet of the abundance in all aspects and productivity herein. Hereafter. AP. Verse 2. Though this terse is addressed to the Holy Prophet to mean that in return for the greatest blessings and the greatest amount of the grace of God which has been showered on him, he should pray and offer sacrifices, but it is a command or instruction for everyone, saying that he who aspires for the special blessings from God should get them through prayer and sacrifices. As a matter of fact, it is the common man who needs such guidance, not an apostle of God who is sent duly conditioned with the spiritual excellence and the necessary knowledge of the means to achieve goodness, to show those ways to mankind. Nar may mean sacrifice, or may mean the raising of hand in prayer wherever Allahu Akbar is to be said. Refer to Fiqh, AP. Verse 3. There is a consolation as well as a prophecy that it is the one who taunted the Holy Prophet as Abtar who would go into oblivion and not the Holy Prophet, for the issues which he will be blessed with through Ali and Fatima, will be in such abundance that none will be able to enumerate them or know their number correctly. Today the Sadat, or the issues of the Holy Prophet, are found in every part of the world, and this wonderful abundance was granted by God through the one single daughter Lady Fatima, who was married to Ali. No king or any other prophet can claim this grace of having his lineage continued for centuries together with the innumerable members of it. 1. Left unproductive. Shares. Surah al-Kafirun, the disbelievers. Revealed at Mecca. 6 verses in one section. Sections of Surah al-Kafirun. 1. One's religion to oneself. Al-Kafirun, one's religion to oneself. The disbelievers not to worry about the believers, who will have their own religion. In the name of God the Beneficent the Merciful. Say thou, O our Apostle Muhammad, O ye who disbelieve. 109. 1. I worship not what ye worship. 109. 2. Nor worship ye whom I worship. 109. 3. Nor shall I worship whom ye worship. 109. 4. Nor will worship ye whom I worship. 109. 5. Unto ye be your religion, and unto me my religion. 1109. 6. Commentary. Verse 1. The disbelievers viz., Umayyah ibn Khalaf, Walid ibn Mughira, Azan Aqba ibn Rabia and a party of the Quraysh had told the Holy Prophet to worship what they worship, and they will worship what he worshipped, so that each might have a share in the truth or the falsehood of the other. This surah was revealed. It is said that Abu Shakir asked Abu Ja'far why is the same proposition repeated in this surah which act is opposed to the excellence of eloquence. Abu Ja'far went to the sixth holy Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq and asked the answer for it. The holy Imam said, the repetition in the surah is just in reply to repetition in the proposal by the disbelievers who told the Holy Prophet that he should worship for 1 year what they worship and the other year they will worship what he worshipped. The statements in this surah are purely logical, that the Holy Prophet having himself preached the truth can never naturally or reasonably yield to falsehood, and the disbelievers being attached to their own fancies and vested interest could not act according to the truth they were ever opposed to. As religion or faith is a matter exclusively of conviction and not a matter to be adjusted to suit any exigencies of any social or political situation, or any material advantage, or for fear of any loss or any worldly gain, the one with the knowledge of the truth can never give way for any other consideration or purpose. The chapter declares that there is no way for any compromise between the right and the wrong, nor there could be any compulsion in conviction. This conforms with 256 AP. Turning Merciful. 110. 3. Commentary. Verse 1 and 2. The great prophecy was wonderfully fulfilled in the bloodless conquest of Mecca, and the other Arab tribes sent their deputations to the Holy Prophet and entered the folds of the faith, Islam, one after another. The world knows that the one, the Holy Prophet who was persecuted and hunted out of his birthplace, Mecca, and who took refuge in Medina, could not be defeated or stopped from having his godly way, even by the most formidable forces of the Meccans and their confederates. His mission gradually made its way, in all the wickedness and the treachery of the enemy, recoiled on the enemies themselves. Now this prophecy and the promise came from the Lord, with which all the outlying parts of Arabia ranged themselves under the banner of Islam. This was the return for the conviction, sincerity, perseverance and sacrifice, in the way of the Lord. Now the tribes together offered their collective adherence, paving the way for further triumph of the faith in the outer world to its limits, remaining in store for the future. It is said that this chapter was the last of the revelations from which people sensed the closing days of the ministry of the Holy Prophet were approaching. The first and the second verse refer to the apparent progress of the religion throughout Arabia, and it also refers to the spiritual state of the realization where the Holy Prophet saw every being in submission to the will of God, conforming with 383 AP. Verse 3. It is indirectly an ordinance for mankind to celebrate God's grace and glory, at each event of success in life, and seek His grace through prayer and earn the protection through God's forgiveness of the shortcomings. Istighfar, in the case of a sinful being, means seeking the pardon of God, and the same, istighfar, on the part of a sinless infallible one like the Holy Prophet and his al-bayt who have already been purified by the Lord Himself. 33. 33 will mean seeking further grace and the greater blessings or the further protection of the Lord against the satanic forces. Here, istighfar means the Holy Prophet's asking for the protection of the Lord for himself and his followers against the satanic forces of evil, and seeking pardon of the Lord on behalf of his faithful adherents who might have been the prey of the human weakness as did Moses for his people who had yielded to the worship of the calf. It is said that this surah was revealed on the occasion of the bloodless capture of Mecca. The holy prophet standing at the entrance of the holy Kaaba said, "There is no pad but Goil the one and the only, he has fulfilled his promise and has helped his servant the holy prophet," and then entered it. And to each idol which was there in it, he pointed with his staff, and the idol fell headlong into pieces, and for those which were fixed higher into the walls, he asked Ali to mount up on his shoulders, and Ali mounted and put his hand with his miraculous strength and pulled each one of the idols and dashed it to the ground. It is said that even the largest and the most strongly fixed ones also were easily plucked out. And even the idols of strong metals broke into pieces. When the Holy Prophet recited this surah before his uncle Abbas began shedding tears and said that the matter discloses the departure of the Holy Prophet from this world. The Holy Prophet said, "It is so, my dear uncle." 2 years later departed the Holy Prophet from this world. 1. Refer to 48. 2. Refer to note on Istighfar. Shares. Surah Al-Lahab, the flame. Revealed at Mecca. 5 verses in one section. Sections of Surah Al-Lahab. 1. Abu Lahab cursed. Al-Lahab, Abu Lahab cursed. Abu Lahab along with his wife cursed. In the name of God the Beneficent, the Merciful. May perish both the hands of Abu Lahab, may perish he himself. 111. 1. Shall avail him not his wealth nor what he earneth. 111. 2. Soon shall he burn in the flaming fire. 111. 3. And his wife, the bearer of the firewood. 111. 4. Upon her neck shall be a halter of twisted rope. 111. 5. Commentary. Verse 1. Abu Lahab, i.e. the father of the flames, whose name was Abd al-Uzza, was a man of a fiery temperament. The Holy Prophet is commanded by God gathered all his relatives to announce for the first time openly that he was the apostle of God. Abu Lahab was also in the assembly, for he was the uncle of the Holy Prophet. He was a cousin of Abdul Muttalib, the Holy Prophet's grandfather. When the Holy Prophet addressing the assembly asked, "If I tell you that there is a huge army of an enemy camping at the foot of this mountain on the other side of it, will ye believe me?" The whole assembly unanimously said, "Certainly we will believe, for thou hast never told a lie." Single quote. Then said the Holy Prophet, "I have come from God as a warner to preach the unity of the Lord." Hearing this, Abu Lahab exclaimed, "Perdition to thee! Was it for this thou summoned us all?" This verse refers to the heavenly curse invoked on the 2 hands of Abu Lahab with which he raised the stone to throw it on the Holy Prophet. Abu Lahab was one of the worst enemies of the Holy Prophet for preaching Islam. Once Abu Lahab was found going behind the Holy Prophet passing through the marketplace called Zul Mujaz, shouting behind to the people not to listen to the Holy Prophet, saying that he was a mad man, and pelting stones on him. The Holy Prophet walked with bleeding wounds in his heels. Abu Lahab died a week after the defeat of Meccans at Badr with some contagious disease, and since his body gave out an unbearable foul smell, was left unburied for 3 days, and at last some slaves were hired to bury it. The verse prophesies perdition for Abu Lahab both in this life and in the hereafter. Abu Lahab and his wife being specifically mentioned as the cursed ones among the enemies of Islam, is just to emphasize that no relationship whatsoever even with the Holy Prophet can be of any avail when the person lacks in faith. It is well said, "Certainly, did cause fall to Abu Lahab, the noble shirk, polytheism. And certainly, raised Salman al-Farsi, his Islam, to the state of being one of the holy al-Bayt." AP. Verse 2. When Abu Lahab was warned against the hell fire, he said that he would purchase the hell with his wealth and escape it. This wise refers to what Abu Lahab had said, and means to say that all his wealth would be of no avail to him at all on the day of judgment. This is a warning to all the wealthy ones who are proud and puffed up of their wealth. Verse 3. When Abu Lahab will be in the hell fire, and then he would realize the return for his disbelief and tyranny, and know of what value was his wealth. Verse 4. Jamila, the sister of Abu Sufyan, was the wife of Abu Lahab. She was also equally mischievous and grossly wicked. She was a squint-eyed woman of equally bad temperament like her husband. She Used to collect thorny sticks the whole day, bundle them up with some rope made of fiber of the date palm, and in the night, she used to spread the collected thorns in the path, which the holy prophet usually used at night or very early before dawn to go to the mosque for prayers so that the thorns may wound his feet or get stuck into his clothes. The holy prophet used to collect them aside. Hence, she is called the bearer of the wood. He begetteth not, nor is he begotten 112. 3. And there is none like unto him 112. 4. Commentary. Verse 1. The Jews asked the holy prophet to describe the identity or to relate the genealogy of God, and the messenger angel brought this surah. There is a vast difference between the two Arabic words, ahad, and wahid, both commonly thought to mean oneness. To indicate the unity of God, it is said in this verse that God is ahad, i.e. one in the sense of the absolute oneness of his essential existence, not in the numerical sense of the numeral, which has its second and third, but the one which has no second of it. The expression one is in the sense of being the only in conceiving whose existence all the faculties of the human intellect are helpless. He is such a one that even his attributes are his essence and not separate and never separable from him. It is a death blow, Islam rendered to all imaginary conception of any kind of polytheistic doctrines and the phenomena of plurality about the all-divine too. He is one with none comparable to him, without any beginning or end, unlimited by time, space or circumstances. A reality, before which all others have no existence. He is the creator, one and everything is his creation. This chapter with all its brevity is considered to contain the gist or the spirit of the absolute unity of God, which is the fundamental of the fundamentals of the faith, Islam. It is considered that 1/3 of Quran is revealed as an explanation to this synthesis. It is said that the Holy Prophet was asked to give the idea of Godhead which he preached, and this chapter was revealed. It begins with pronoun, third person, singular, ar. Who, i.e., he, which refers to something known to all but not identified with any, as against the usual reference in the term of first person singular, I, of the conception of the Absolute in the Aryan creeds, saying the Atma and the Brahma both are one. 4. The word refer to one, ahad, stands for unity of his essence, i.e., he is not of composite nature. Samad stands to denote that he is all compact in his unity in the sense that he cannot be described or defined to be void of any excellence or any excellence to be void of him. Thus, he is all in the true sense of the term, discarding every possibility of incarnation. Thus proves his all-pervadingness and all-comprehensiveness, which means his being infinite. As such, the question of his being in the sense of something separated from him is his issue, or his being separated from anybody from any origin, i.e., his being born, does not at all arise, and it is self-evident that there cannot be a second or a match or a rival for such a being. It is unimaginable because the very idea of the existence of two implies the finiteness and the limitation of both, which is contradictory to the very idea of the absolute unity of the essence. AP. Verse 2. Samad, i.e. independent of any one. All perfect, the one to whom recourse is made by everything. Eternal for its needs, both for existence and for perfection. The one who needs no subsistence of any kind. Self-existing, to understand whose existence every mind is drowned in marvel and wonder. Nothing is hidden from his all-enveloping knowledge, is not accommodable in anything, not even in intellect, infinite in all aspects of the existence and attributes. In fact, the names or the attributes mentioned to describe his existence or its nature, are unconveyable in their fullness, hence cannot be translated to give the correct or the fullest sense or the meaning of the terms. All the meanings attached to this term, Samad, are the necessary properties of the actual meaning given in the note on the authority of Holy Imam Ali ibn al-Husayn as Zayn al-Abidin of the Al-Bayt. AP. Verse 3. Nothing has come out of him, i.e., he has not begotten any issue. There is no son or daughter born of him. To assign a son or a daughter to him is the greatest blasphemy. Nor is he born of any other being. There is no match or equal to him in any aspect, in any meaning, or in any sense of any of the divine qualities. To assign any wife or mate to him is a gross blasphemy against his all-divine being. Since man is a limited being and he with his inherent limitations cannot correctly conceive of things unknown to him but through some examples in the terms used for the things physical, certain terms have to be helplessly used, otherwise the essence or the qualities of God are beyond any description or definition with any amount of human knowledge with the maximum wealth of the linguistic expressions, which man can ever coin in the mind of his intellect. Anything man coins would be incomparably insignificant and hopelessly imperfect and miserably inadequate to deal with the matter connected with the knowledge of the infinite. 1. Perfect, the compact, independent in whom all depend. See the note. 2. C 59, 22-24. Shares. And from the evil of the envious when he envieth. 113. 5. Commentary. Verse 1. Falak, i.e. cleaving, here means cleaving of the darkness, i.e. dawn, it may mean destroyer of the evil effects of black art, i.e. the darkness or the calamitous effect of witchcraft. This surah was revealed to undo any evil effects of any witchcraft or sorcery. The tradition, the Holy Prophet being enchanted by the sorcerers in such a manner that he was himself unconscious what he was actually doing, reduces the last prophet of God to such a state that the rod of Moses would be superior to him to undo the sorcery. These sorts of traditions undoubtedly have been fabricated by the mischievous elements who wanted to reduce the sublime position of the Holy Prophet to their own level of character and belief. Of course, there are traditions about the utility of the recitation of this in the previous and the next surahs in dispelling the possible effect of any witchcraft. AP. Verse 2. Creation of all kinds, visible to the human eye and also invisible, creatures on earth below it or above it, known to man or unknown to him, physical or spiritual, even the psychological disturbances. Verse 3. Gasik, or intense darkness, the miserable difficulties and calamities which can also be compared to darkness against the jovial case in prosperity which can be compared to light difficulties include physical, mental and spiritual. Verse 4. Those who practice magical arts of blowing on knots, the favorite witchcraft generally practiced by perverted woman which creates psychological disturbances. Verse 5. The evil of envy which affects the prosperity of the envied one. The matter of this surah suggests that man in difficulties, physical or spiritual, should seek refuge in the omnipotent Lord who alone and of none else can give him the relief needed. From the evil of the Satan-slinking whisperer, 114. 4. Who whispereth into the breasts hearts of the people, 114. 5. From among the jinn and the men, 114. 6. Commentary. Verse 1. This surah is identical with the previous one, surah 113. The matter is supplementary to that of the previous surah. Man is asked to seek refuge in God with his name as Rab, i.e. the Lord of men, i.e. the cherisher and sustainer. Invoking this great attribute, man can expect an especially paternal treatment. Verse 2. To seek refuge in God, invoking his authority over the affairs of men, as their king, i.e. he is the one who can independently act over his creation. Verse 3. To seek the protection, invoking the divinity of the Lord as the God of mankind, for it is God's authority which must necessarily be obeyed, i.e. it is his command or his will which is always done. Verse 4. Khanas, i.e. the one who gets back or withdraws. This is a reference